Go ahead and set up Cornell Notes and call this, title this Marbury versus Madison. Now, this happened during Jefferson's presidency, but I want to go ahead and have a discussion about this before Jefferson's presidency so that we can have an understanding of this court case before we get to it, because we're going to be analyzing documents when we look at the Marbury versus Madison court case. So today we're just going to do straight facts. It's two gentlemen. John Marshall and Thomas Jefferson are a big part of this. At this time period, John Marshall is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. The Chief Justice means he is the Supreme Court Justice that's kind of in charge of the entire court. And Thomas Jefferson is the President of the United States. So who are these people? You have Chief Justice John Marshall, William Marbury, and James Madison. Kind of let me give you the situation surrounding this. As John Adams was leaving his office as president, he appointed William Marbury to be the Justice of the Peace in Washington, D.C. Well, as he was leaving office, James Madison, who was the Secretary of State at the time, was supposed to swear William Marbury in. Well, James Madison refused to even acknowledge the appointment because, according to James Madison, John Adams was no longer president, according to a law that they had. Well, William Marbury, who was promised this job, decided to sue James Madison and basically the government for his job. This case eventually made it to the Supreme Court. When it gets to the Supreme Court, at this point in time, Chief Justice John Marshall and the other justices don't have a ton of powers given to them by the Constitution. So this is really the first time in history that the Supreme Court rules that a law is unconstitutional and is void, which means that that law goes against what the Constitution is saying. This idea, and we've talked about judicial review in the past, but this idea established judicial review, where a court can look at a law or they can look at a ruling or an act that was put into place and see if it goes alongside the Constitution or if this is unconstitutional. So Marbury versus Madison is really the court case that put that into play. Here's what I want you to do with this, because I want you to kind of tie a few things together. You're going to need your old spiral to do this. But in the summary section of your notes for Marbury versus Madison, I want you to write a 2-sentence summary answering this question. How did the decision of Marbury versus Madison define the powers of the Supreme Court and the federal government? Go ahead and take a moment and think about that. Look back at your notes. Go watch this video again if needed so that you can be able to answer that question appropriately.